You can already tell that this is not my own original creation. Recipes from the Preppy Kitchen are no stranger to this channel. I've done several recipe tests from things that he's made, used his techniques and tips in a lot of different things that I've made, and he's never let me down. I saw this video of a peanut butter cheesecake several months ago when it came out and immediately knew that this is something that I have to make. So I finally found an excuse to do it a couple of weekends ago for my family, and I figured I would film it and talk about it. Of course, I'm not going to share the recipe process and ingredient amounts on this video. I'm just going to link his video in the description and in the cards, but I'll kind of vaguely talk through the process and how it worked for me, and then of course go to a taste test at the end. So this starts with a food processor and more Oreos than you need to know about. Mix that with a little butter and sugar and then spread that around into my springform pan. Then the filling was super easy to whip up in my stand mixer. It's mainly based in cream cheese and obviously peanut butter. There was some sour cream in there for some tanginess, which is interesting. But again, this was done in a flash just because the stand mixer is goated. This is actually the first real cheesecake that I've ever made. It's a really good dessert, but it's super loaded and heavy, and I need a really special event to make it so I can ensure that I can get rid of a lot of it. But anyway, once that's fluffed up, I pour it over the crust and then set this in the oven. More specifically, I first wrap it in some foil, which John recommends using the wide foil. I could not find that. I just used regular width. It seemed like it would make it around the whole pan, and I just double layered it just to be sure, because I'm going to set that into a roasting pan before putting it in the oven and then filling that a little bit with boiling water. These water baths are a key technique to make sure your cheesecake doesn't crack. After its baking time, I left it in the oven with the oven off and it propped open for an hour or so just to cool down naturally, which I then pulled that out and I was going to set it in the fridge for a few hours to cool completely, which is when I realized that my foil was indeed not wide enough and some of that water leaked through, which the bottom of the pan is not sealed, so it got into the cake itself, as you can see. This really worried me because I figured it was going to sog up my crust or mess up the peanut butter filling inside, I don't know. But I couldn't figure that out until I let it cool completely in the fridge for a few hours. In the meantime, I just made the really easy ganache with some chocolate and whipping cream. The key here is not to burn the chocolate, which is easy to do, so you just have to gently melt it until it's right at its melting point. This gets poured over the chilled cake, and I finally get to use my cake turntable that I got for Christmas, using my offset spatula to evenly spread this across and let some of it drip over the edge for the aesthetic. And like John did in his video, I'm just going to try to make this swirl in the middle, which I thought was hard to do, but it wasn't. I mean, mine probably doesn't look as good as his, but it looks cool.
I've seen better TPH.
And for a final garnish before the chocolate sets, I'm just chopping up some Reese's unwrapped minis and topping those around the edge of the cake. It's definitely got the looks, and I'll attribute that all to John's well-explained techniques and not my abilities. I didn't quite push up the Oreo crust around the sides as high as he did, but I think it still looks okay. I do need to invest in a nice cake serving dish at some point though. So I took this to a crawfish boil at my parents' house, and we ate most of the cake, and I left most of it with them, but I took a few pieces home. So the next day I tried one on camera so we can talk about it. Here we are for a quick taste test. I already had this last night with my family, but I'm gonna try it today on camera. It had a chance to sit in the fridge overnight, so maybe it'll be even better put together. Cheers. Absolutely rich, a good twist on a regular cheesecake with the peanut butter and chocolate flavors. It's nothing really groundbreaking, but it's good. Just make sure you're prepared to give this away or find a way to dispose of it reasonably, because you don't want to be stuck with a big portion of this cake on your own like I am. So I don't think the water bath leaking into the cake really messed with it too much. I don't have something side by side to compare it to, but it was only a small amount because I think only a little bit leaked in over the top. But the crust on the bottom still came out really good, just as good as any other cheesecake that I've had before. It's hard to find reasons to make this at home because of how rich it is and how much you have to eat of it to get rid of it. This was a fun experiment. Maybe I'll have my own recipe for something like this at some point. But if you enjoyed this and stuck around, I appreciate it. Thank you all for watching. Be blessed, and I'll see you next time. Probably. Yeah, it does.
Why the heck are you talking in the middle?
I don't feel like waiting anymore. No one watches my videos.